Hello everybody, GZTV back with another video, and today we are starting up a new series, Walking Dead. You heard me right, we are going to be reviewing the pilot today, and every day in college I'll probably be watching an episode. This is the one I'll probably maintain. Maybe I'll wait till I go home for the weekend with my dad to watch some episodes of Better Call Saul. We will see. I leave for college here in like 3 days, so yeah. The episode opens in medias res as former sheriff deputy Rick Grimes, played by Andrew Lincoln, scavenges for gas and supplies at an abandoned convenience store in rural Georgia on a deserted highway. Yeah. He spots a little girl played by Addie Miller, but she turns out to be a zombie. And he quickly realizes this, and obviously, thank God he realized it, because he had no idea what was going on in the world right now. And I do kind of like how this show gets straight into the concept of a zombie apocalypse. It's pretty cliche, but I think Walking Dead does it at one of the best. I honestly think. I mean, it's pretty overhyped, but I still think for a zombie TV show, I think it does it pretty well. The terminology, all of that, the lore, everything. When she charges towards him, Rick shoots her in the head, knowing that she's a threat. So he has good police instincts. Returning to several weeks prior, Rick is seriously injured while chasing down criminals alongside his partner and childhood friend Shane Walsh, played by John Bernthal, as he is shot in his shoulder, causing him to go in a coma. So he almost dies. You know, he's going kind of downhill in his life. You know, his family doesn't love him that much. Like his wife wishes he could do better, and he now just has this injury to deal with. So yeah, he's kind of going off the deep end, and then he gets shot, and it adds to it, right? Hospitalized as a result of the injury, Rick experiences a series of dreamlike encounters with friends and family as he languishes in a coma. So he goes back through his life, flips through memories and stuff, and it's kind of heartbreaking. This guy has a terrible story, if to be honest. He lives in a pretty well-established home, but he goes through a lot of stuff, man. When he regains consciousness, he finds the hospital abandoned and horrifically ransacked, the walls sprayed with blood, destroyed equipment everywhere, and dead bodies littering the hallway. So to make matters worse, he walks out of his hospital room, he's asking for a nurse, he wants help, and then all of a sudden, he sees all this shit just scattered everywhere, and he's like, what the fuck has happened here? He walks past a set of double doors secured with heavy chains and spray painted with the ominous warning, "Don't open, dead inside." So someone came through, put the zombies, the walkers, I guess, in there, and he takes the warning. He's like, "Yep, I'm not even gonna deal with it." From the far side of the secure doors, Rick hears growling while an unknown menace pushes against the locked doors. Wikipedia just called a walker a menace. We'll start calling them menaces, I guess. Outside, he finds scores of dead bodies, some covered in makeshift body bags, others strewn about randomly. It's really fucking disgusting. It's a very horrific scene. This show gets gross. I mean, we're dealing with zombies and blood and guts. So if you don't like blood and guts and stuff, and you don't like gore, do not watch it. It's a bunch of infected, nasty looking people, walkers in there. As he makes his way home, he sees a zombified woman dragging her legless body towards him. He's kind of realizing, oh my god, it's like a zombie apocalypse. Who would have ever thought? He ignores her and returns home, finding his family has long since fled. And you don't really assume that when you first get in a house. You kind of assume in this apocalypse and in a situation like this that they could have possibly died, you know? Rick encounters Morgan Jones, played by Lenny James, and his son Dwayne, played by Adrian Kelly Turner, and they explain the zombie apocalypse that occurred while Rick was in a coma. So literally, the second he went into a coma, things started happening, and good thing he found some help, good thing he found some people he can kind of lay away with for a little while. Yeah, it's pretty beautiful. I mean, it's pretty plot beneficial that they came in, but still. Imagine playing Roller Champion still. Morgan warns that the only way to stop the zombies is to destroy the brain, and cautions that the zombies are attracted to noise. Kind of like The Quiet Place, man. It's like The Quiet Place, but zombies, and not Demogorgon monsters running at you. Obviously, Quiet Place probably took after the show in some aspects, but still. Rick decides to head to Atlanta, where a refugee camp is rumored to exist, though Morgan would rather stay behind. And, I mean, Rick wants to try to find his family. He's hoping that they're in Atlanta. Yeah. Rick, Morgan, and Dwayne go to the sheriff department headquarters, where Rick was assigned to take weapons, radios, ammunition, and a patrol car. So he's kind of looting up. He's kind of teaching the young boy some lessons. A cool, like, father-son moment. He doesn't have Carl at the moment, so he's kind of putting his dad vibes out on him. I think it's beautiful. While Rick encounters a zombified former colleague whom he shoots in while there. He shoots in the head. He was like, he didn't really amount to much. I'll just kill him. It's not going to be that emotional. Because when you see, like, people you know that are zombified now, you're, like, killing the person for a second time. It's kind of sad, really. It's, like, one of the more sad aspects of a zombie apocalypse show that not a lot of them touch on. Or movies, if you will. Rick splits the stash of weapons and supplies from the police station with Morgan and promises to stay in touch with a walkie-talkie. You've been good to me. You're a good guy. I really like you. Let's just talk over a walkie-talkie, and maybe we can regroup in the future. Stay safe, Don't let the walkers bite. Sorry, sleep tight. Don't let the walkers bite. That type of thing. Morgan and Dwayne return to their home, and Morgan, armed with a sniper rifle from the sheriff's headquarters and perched in a second-story window, fires at a zombie wandering in the street in front of their home. So they're trying to start kind of taking out the walkers. While Dwayne sits nervously downstairs, unsure why Morgan is shooting out the window, it becomes clear that Morgan is trying to attract his wife, now a zombie. So this is kind of what Rick feared towards the beginning of the episode. His relatives could possibly be zombified and, like, infected and possibly could try killing him. When she arrives, drawn to the noise of gunfire, Morgan gets her head in sight, but he's unable to shoot her. Kind of like that emotional moment. He's not really able to shoot her because it's his wife. He doesn't want to kill her, even if she's in that state, even if she's possibly suffering. I mean, I'm sure the zombies are definitely suffering. On his way out of town, Rick stops by the legless zombie. He apologizes for what had happened to her, and he shoots her. Rick is a very, like, sympathetic guy. Like, you kind of get that out of his character very early. Like, he sees good in a lot of people. He has hope for a lot of people. He prays for people. You get a lot of, like, hints at his character in this episode, and they do it pretty well. AMC has some great shows, Breaking Bad and this one. I'm happy to restart watching this one. When he radios Morgan the next day, his signal is picked up by a survivors camp where Shane, Rick's wife Lori, played by Sarah Wayne Callies, and his son Carl, played by Chandler Riggs, are safe. So he then realizes that Rick's wife and son aren't zombies, and they have survived. So that's good for Rick. He's going to be happy to find the news. Unaware that it is Rick on the other line, they lose radio signal before they can warn him of the dangers in Atlanta. Don't go to the actual city, camp out on the outside of the city. Shane and Lori briefly kiss before Carl interrupts, so Lori's pretty much cheating on Rick. Rest in peace. Lori reassures Carl that she will stay with him. She was wanting to go out of town and kind of warn him that cannot go to Atlanta. You gotta warn the others. Later, he is forced to abandon his car when he runs out of gas. Rick is. He finds a farmhouse nearby where the owners of the house are found to be dead. He takes their horse and continues the rest of the way on horseback. So, you find a house where with a bunch of dead people. You kind of go in there and you kind of ransack their place and leave. That's kind of how a zombie. I think robbery, burglary is pretty much justifiable here. I don't know. In the seemingly empty city, Rick follows a helicopter flying overhead right into a horde of zombies. She's like, well, there's civilization here. Let's go over and follow that. There's a bunch of zombies in Atlanta. They attack him and his horse, killing his horse and forcing him to drop his bag of weapons and crawl under a tank. And as they follow him under it, Rick contemplates suicide a split second before noticing a trapdoor to take shelter in the vehicle. This is one of the only scenes where I was like, what the fuck is this? Who the fuck does this? So Rick is like, well, This has been a good one, and then he like sees the trapdoor like a split second later, and he like climbs up. It's so fucking weird. It's always such a weird sequence. Maybe if they emphasize this a little more, I don't know. It was so weird to see him do that and then crawl right up the trapdoor. I don't know. It was kind of funny to be honest. Um, yeah, and that was a very iconic scene. That's one that's very memorable to me when he's crawling under the tank and the zombies are like crawling on each side. So after he shoots a walker inside, he hears a voice from the tank's radio sarcastically ask if he is comfortable before the scene exits with a top-down view of Atlanta overrun by walkers. So there are people trying to find signal with him and trying to talk to him and get him out of that thing. He kind of trapped himself. There's no underplaying the role of AMC, which is creating a distinctive brand out of every different series, such as Mad Men, Breaking Bad, Rubicon, and now Walking Dead. AMC makes sure that all of its shows breathe and move at a deliberate and challenging pace that is anathema to the networks. AMC seems to require the kind of arresting visuals most often associated with the big screen. There's a lot of fucking critical reception, my god. 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, 8.08 out of 10. The Walking Dead debut delivers intense horror set apart by its focus on tragedy and the human condition, not to mention awesome zombie kills. Terrible CGI, but still, it's 2010. The episode was setting new standards. It illuminates even during its timid moments. It's the best new television show of 2010, seen by a lot of people. The series would broaden the audience of the horror genre as well as attract new fans. Finally, a horror show on television for people who hate horror. It's not that The Walking Dead isn't scary or doesn't contain gratuitous amounts of gore, but where other horror projects opt for camp, The Walking Dead grounds itself in reality. The Walking Dead was as dark, intelligent, and uncompromising as any of AMC's other dramas. This episode is genuinely terrifying, despite being too gruesome for some people. It was too engrossing not to watch. The character development in the episode's great. Who's Frank Darabont? Oh, he's like a writer. The writer finds time for the human tragedy of the situation. A- created by Boston Herald. The pilot episode was a suspenseful thriller. It was one killer of a zombie show. First episode contained a cinematic quality of it. The pilot episode is so good that it has hooked even a zombie hater to watch the show. It's the best pilot since Lost Introduction and a brilliant examination of what makes people human. I do kind of want to watch Lost. That would be interesting. A- on AV Club. Stunning debut here. Oh my god. Holy shit. Okay, this is going to be a long episode. The installment was fully dynamic and engaging. It's a promising human story built over a sea of grunting corpses. It's a scarefest at points, and it's definitely extremely bloody as zombie guts splatter all over the place like chunky borscht. The 90-minute premiere, that's not 90 minutes, is a gory Halloween horror event for sure. The series premiere is a chilling show and had a very real sense that the world can go completely mad and stay that way for good. It was a welcome reprieve from the camp-laden world of zombie culture. 8.8 out of 10 for pace. The final moments of the episode were pretty epic. 9 out of 10 on IGN. Amazing. The pilot episode was intense. It delivered above expectations. It was an instant classic. The show's unpredictability, I guess. I watched it already, so I kind of knew what would happen, but it paints a thoroughly convincing post-apocalyptic world, both visually and emotionally. The pilot episode was surprisingly fresh, despite having initial thoughts of a stale premise. The Walking Dead draws the audience in almost instantly with its cinematic 90-minute pilot, then incorporates tasty soap-like elements meant to animate the ensuing episodes. Although we've seen no shortage of zombies and post-apocalyptic stories, producer, writer, director Frank Darabont has definitely tackled the seemingly perilous task of adapting a comic book about zombies into a viable episodic series. 3 out of 4 on New York Post. The zombies are truly scary and disgusting. The survivors are terrific characters, and the gore is enough for any lunatic to love. The zombies design is like definitely something I will credit about the show. The special effects are pretty awesome and the costume. But the CGI is pretty disgusting and horrid until we get later on in the show. Some people were polarized by Rick Grimes' performance, Andrew Lincoln. His accent was dodgy. His body language and expression is totally different than when we saw him before. He's a fast learner. His accent was spotty. Lincoln fit into character very well. People are very split on him. For much of the pilot, he's on his own and excludes a lot of believable, shocked emotion as Rick tries to process what he's seeing. Lincoln's performance was one of the episode's drawbacks. One drawback in The Walking Dead is that Lincoln plays his emotion a little too close to his deputy's badge. We're told by him that all he wants to do is find his wife and kid. His belief that they still are alive is the emotional drive of the story, but there's not enough deep pain that seeps up to coat the dialogue Lincoln delivers. Fair enough. I mean, I'm out. I don't really have much to say. I feel like this episode's already kind of long enough. The pilot review, maybe the other episodes won't be as